to another healing conversation to open hearts, empower millions, and raise the vibration of the planet. Thank you for joining us. I'm Loren Gailey, and I'm so glad you're here because I am with Brian Besco of Twisted Sage Studios, and today we're going to talk about torsion fields. Brian, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with the beautiful mountains in the background in Colorado.
Here in Boulder, Colorado. Now, torsion rings, you've got a few in your hand. Please explain more. These are powerful.
They are. They're based on an ancient technology. A lot of these measurements come from places such as the Great Pyramid, King Solomon's Temple. Basically, they're created because copper is a crystalline structure. So when a wire is created, it aligns all the microcrystals within a wire within the copper. And so it creates an energy flow of one direction. So we have created a directional flow, both directions, of this torsion field that goes out in both directions from the ring. What's creating the frequencies on these guys is the very specific lengths. This specific length comes from the Great Pyramid. It creates a frequency of 144 megahertz that does the healing on the physical. So they are cut to the millionth of an inch in our studio. And what it is, the energy flow goes both directions in the copper. When they come back together, they are continuing their path and creating this counter-rotating vortex. And it is the very specific lengths that create the frequencies. There have been 64 known qubit lengths, and a qubit is a measure of length that have been known to mankind, and we've only found 6 qubits that produce working frequencies within a tensor ring. And so we have other frequencies. The 144 comes from the King's Chamber. The 177 megahertz was one that was discovered by a mathematician through a mathematical theory. We call these tensor rings because it came from John Archibald Wheeler, who was he coined the term black hole, and he made a tensor theory, a mathematical theory, about the tensor rings, and he played with these closed-loop coils for a while. Slim Sperling was the one who rediscovered this technology in the 90s, and so Slim connected up to the qubit from the Great Pyramid, the Royal Qubit, and where these tools are actually created etherically. So these are created in a higher dimensional level. They all have different geometries associated with each of the rings and the frequencies. So these frequencies and geometries are stepped down through the dimensions to be manifest here in the physical. And so we teach people all over the world how to make these rings. But the biggest part is being in that sacred space of the heart. Because when you are in the sacred space of the heart, it is where you do not have any of the outside influence that comes through the rings. So in our studio, everybody who touches the rings and enters the studio is in their heart space and cleaned and cleared. So some of the other frequencies that we have, this is the tensor trio, as I call it, and it has the 144, the 177, and the 188 megahertz frequency is the larger ring. This is the one that we also use as a horse harmonizer. Horses that have been abused and neglected, that have a spiky energy signature, you put this large ring around their neck, in 5 minutes they are completely calmed. It has taken the charge out of emotions, the emotional charge out of memories. And so we've been using this 188 ring over the past few years as we've been all doing our release work to be able to just stand in the column, or else as these emotions come up, you simply blow through the ring and it transmutes them so you cannot take them back. This 188 ring also resonates with the pineal gland, decalcifies the pineal, but the three together are a very powerful set. The newest ring is the Galactic Qubit. This one was channeled in actually by a couple of dairy farmers in Wisconsin who were master dowsers, and they said they wanted one of the most beneficial lengths for their cows. So they brought in this specific qubit length. This one acts unlike any other tensor ring in that each one of these little twists, there is a tube torus. And this tube torus draws in both perceived positive and negative energy and sends it out as a whole and complete. This particular ring also is able to bring in your higher soul self and all your soul aspects. So this works with the multidimensional you. As all these rings are created on higher dimensions and manifest here in the physical, This particular one, when you're holding on to it, it's seen that your higher soul self and all of your soul aspects are holding on to this at the same time. And this has brought in new modalities for us to look at, because as we are coming all together, our soul aspects and us, throughout all these dimensional planes, we find that as we have something going on with one of our aspects out here, it can affect us here. And so as we've been doing this energy work with ourselves and others over the past 9 months since these rings came into being, we've been able to take a look at those other dimensional planes where we exist and do the healing and clearing work there, which brings it all together right here, because our hearts are connected for each one of our aspects.
That's a fascinating subject. You just spoke of us existing multidimensionally in parallel realities and other existences. This allows us to connect in with all of those aspects.
Yes.
Fascinating. And improve all of these aspects all at once. So what's going on then as it happens? You said we can clear entities. That could be kind of scary.
Oh, sure. These actually clear so many different things because it works with the Council of Light. So the Council of Light, made up of archangels and masters who have brought in all these source rays, and they take little filaments off. Like Daniela Hoffman, who wrote the book The Council of Light. That is one of the councils out there that we work with who are part of these particular rings. So if your higher soul self does not work with the Council of Light, when you're holding on to these, you are given that emissary to the council. So your higher soul self has a buddy that's on the council, and then you can start running the source rays, which go through you and all of your multidimensional being. More of the healing frequencies that come through this ring are all the plant frequencies and properties of the earth. There is... we work with a lot of beings who help to usher these frequencies into here. Also, all the crystal and mineral frequencies and properties of the earth. So you can basically use this ring to pull out whatever it is that you need consciously. So let's say you know of a certain frequency of a plant or of a mineral. You can pull it out of here and use it on yourself etherically. Either that or else your higher soul self will just bring it in for whatever it is that you need. So basically, when we use these rings, they do block a lot of the energetic implants that we've had occur over the past couple of years, which was the reason that we first started to infuse the frequencies and properties of specific crystals into all of the rings, is because as you work with a group of healers and somebody has something physically going on with them that a doctor cannot find out, people usually will go to an energy healer. And all these energy healers that we work with are seeing these different implants. They're just an energetic piece within us, and they come from various sources, and they've changed over the past few years. These are actually different things that affect people of ascending vibration. So a lot of these things are seen as caps over top that block our connection to source. Some of these things are seen as like little organisms that attach to us, that drain us of energy. Some of these little organisms, they're etheric. They actually have cords attached to them that go elsewhere. And most of these go off-planet. So there are so many out there who would not like to see us humans become empowered to know who we truly are. Because all of us are ancient, all of us are powerful, and it's just that we have been stuck in knowing and having that remembrance. And so now, as we are all starting to remember, we are becoming more powerful beings, we are becoming manifestors, we are becoming creators of this world. And so there's a lot of powers to be that would rather not see us become who we truly are. And so these are the ones who have been sending out these implants of different flavors and varieties that either are influencing us through our emotional bodies or else are doing physical things with us. And so I know a lot of this kind of sounds a lot of fear and disbelief, but once you start working with these energy healers, and actually once you start working with the rings and you put a ring around you and your swollen ankle goes away, and it dissolves everything within there. It's and you don't have to know that it was an implant. You just know that it is cleaned and cleared and healed. So it's not a fearful thing of having this stuff. It's just an energetic thing that affects us more and more, because some of us have had these energetic things go on for our entire life, but just right now, as we're raising the frequency and vibration, these things are starting to affect us on a physical level.
And that's what we're here to do, is raise our vibration and open our hearts and take back our power, empowering everyone with this technology. It's wonderful. So we are using tensor fields that create torsions. And how can healers use this in their, well, individuals can use it, but healers can also use it on their clients?
Oh yeah, the rings can be used both actively and passively. So basically, the tensor rings can be put underneath of a massage table or a bed. If you're doing body work, it just raises the frequency of the physical body to where your work will take better. And it's also doing the work with the emotions. And so basically, it's a all-around, really well-balanced set of tools to work with physical, mental, and emotional bodies. Because as most healers know, if you are trying to work with something that is in the physical, it usually is manifest into the physical through the different energetic bodies, and usually the emotional. And so as we do our energy work on these other bodies, that manifests into the physical. And so that is where these rings are really fantastic to use just passively, like having underneath your bed or your table, but then also in an active fashion. And I'd love to be able to show you how to actively use these guys by running them over a person and their aura fields to do all the cleaning and clearing work with the energy bodies and the physical.
Wonderful. Well, we're excited to see that. But you had mentioned earlier when you were talking about the horses that it takes their jagged energy field. Now we're talking coherence, the energy waves of a coherent field. So these are assisting in transmitting or blending energies into that coherency, those smooth lines.
Yes. And the beautiful thing about the tensor tools is they synergize with most things. People who do radionics or frequency work, the tensor tools actually amplify the frequencies. They make them healthful and beneficial, and then it also reduces the time that you would spend with radionics. And so the people who are doing radionics have really caught on to the tensor fields and what they are doing. They also blend well with sound. Such sound healers who use like a crystal bowl, they can have a crystal bowl that produces a color of sound of like pink is what my crystal bowl produces. So people who can see that color can see that. We take a 333 megahertz tensor ring and it changes the color of sound to purple, and it also amplifies that sound. So people who are doing sound healing can use those 333 rings, and them and their clients all know that change within the frequency of that bowl. And so that is one way it synergizes. Another way is with crystals. So if you do any healing with crystals, basically crystals love the tensor fields because the tensor fields, they're neither electric nor magnetic. We actually spoke at the Tesla Technology Convention last summer on the tensor fields, so there's a lot of science behind them. But what they're doing with crystals is the consciousness of a crystal can connect to the tensor field, and the crystal can utilize this tensor field. So it cleans and clears the crystal, and the crystal can then amplify itself through the fields.
So if you're programming crystals with intentions to assist you, if you want to gain wisdom or empowerment, that would work in unison with this. You would empower it, and then what would you do with the crystal?
Well, the crystal can actually just stay within the field. Okay. And so that's another way that healers can use these. If they already use crystal grids and such, they put the rings around those crystal grids or just a single crystal, and it just amplifies that, and it will send it out for the miles that these things reach, because these do have a column of light frequency that goes for miles on both sides of this.
A column of light frequency. So before we get to our demonstration, explain that one more time about the torsion field. It's like it's really it's connecting to the cosmic energies.
Yeah, the torsion field, the tube torus, it's the donut-shaped field that flows. If you kind of look how the Earth flows with the magnetics, how the north-south goes, a tube torus actually goes the north-south, but then it flows back this way, and it spins. So you can see this is a donut-shaped field that creates kind of like this infinity sign that just travels around and around, and it has a central location. So this tube torus is how the energy flows all the way from the micro all the way up to the cosmic. So you can look and see in many different cosmic places where, or in the universe, where the stars and everything else creates that tube torus effect.
So we're creating a resonance with the cosmos. We're bringing our resonance up, and we are raising our vibration. Let's do a demonstration.
Use the practitioner set here with the Tensor Trio. The 144 megahertz works on the physical, so we're going to set this one down right here on the ground. The 177 megahertz works with the mental and emotional bodies. We will set this one on the ground as well. The 188 megahertz, this is the one that we use as the horse harmonizer, because this is the one that releases the emotional charge from memories. So basically, once we set this one on the ground and we have this column that works on the physical, mental, emotional, when you stand within this column and you release any of those programs, beliefs, and emotions that no longer serve you, you pull those out with a breath. When you blow them out, they are transmuted within this column, so you can no longer take those back. So then we use the Galactic Qubit as the one that we're going to bring down over top of all of your energy bodies. And as this one is aligning the bigger you throughout time, space, and dimensions, it brings all of you together so that we do the cleaning and clearing and healing work on every bit of you. So we'll begin as you're standing within this Tensor Trio here, and we'll utilize this Galactic Qubit. Now when we bring this ring up, we bring it up far enough above the head where we are making those connections. Basically, I lovingly call them antennas that we have all been growing here over this past months, and they are connections to our star systems. My little girl, who is 4, whenever she has seizures, it is because she has these bent antennas, and that is how we originally found out about these. And then we just slowly bring this ring as it cleans, clears, balances, and aligns chakras, opens all the energy meridians. And the wonderful thing about running these rings is you do not have to be sensitive to the ring. It acts as a scanner, basically, so anybody can grab onto this large ring, and when they run it over the body, they can feel that it drags in those spaces where it needs the cleaning and clearing. And so much of us carry that stuff in our high heart chakra.
So you're feeling his energy field with this, and like as you said, it starts to get heavy or thick in certain spots.
Yes, yep. And so you can, if you're sensitive or not, most people will be able to feel that energy field, or else they'll be able to feel that sticky sensation when it comes across anything within the body that needs clearing. And so we just run the ring all the way down to the feet and then back up. And then if we find any of those heavy spots again, we'll just move that around until that just clears out.
Yeah, it's right here in my hands.
Very interesting. And so all of this is aligning his chakras and removing densities.
I would say I have absence of thought. right now.
Yes, that's one of the things that we see in biofeedback with these rings, clear across the board, is that it does bring people more out of their mind and into their spiritual and physical bodies. And it is clear across the board with everybody. It reduces stress, and it brings them into a more positive state of mind. And that has been with all of our biofeedback.
Yeah, it was very relaxing.
Good.
Hey, so that is how healers use the ring.
Yeah, and that really is a great way to actively use these rings. And I believe no matter what modality you are practicing, you can utilize these rings, and it does half the work for you already, and it just brings the person into more of a receiving state.
Let's take a moment and go into the sacred space of our hearts.
Now, if you would like to follow along, we're going to enter the sacred space of the heart. We see the heart as the first organ out of conception that comes from the original 8 cells. And we see our consciousness as a little ball of light the size of a marble. This consciousness ends up moving from our heart space up into our head, and it moves right behind the pineal gland, right in the middle of the brain. And it's this consciousness that we see out our eyes with, and we would like to move that right back into the sacred space of the heart. So we just close our eyes and visualize ourselves standing on our favorite spot in nature, that place in Mother Earth where you're the most in love with the earth. As you're sending your love to the earth, she sends her love right back up, and we breathe that unconditional loving energy right up into the heart center. The next breath, we connect up with Source, Creator, God, whatever you call the higher power, and we breathe that energy, that unconditional loving energy, down and into the heart as well. This third breath, we breathe in from both earth and sky, mixing both those energies together right within your heart. Now we're going to visualize our consciousness, that little ball of light in the middle of our brain. We're going to take in that deep breath from earth and sky, mixing both those energies together with you. And as we exhale, drop your consciousness right down to that sacred space of the heart. And just settle in right into that sacred seat of the heart. When you go into the heart space, it is a place where the ego cannot follow. It is a safe place where only your guides and angels can be. So we just like to create this safe space for us all to be right here. You within your sacred space of the heart, your larger circle, where you invite all of your guides and angels who walk with you for your highest and greatest good to step into your circle of healing.
One of my most favorite sacred geometric forms is the seed of life, because it is the way we form as individuals. And if all cosmic energy moves through these sacred geometric forms, this is a tool that we can use to empower ourselves. It is our role and mission in this series to empower millions. So we're going to talk about the seed of life. Why would we have the seed of life with copper? This is just enhancing the energy field. Share more.
Sure. So this structure right here, the seed of life, on the one side, it is, as you say, it is kind of the basis of all creation. This is the original 8 cells within the body, and how everything expands out. We've taken 2 seeds of life, and we put them together and ratchet it to create the tube torus. Now this tube torus, so this is a cutaway view of what that tube torus looks like, and this is how the energy flows within everything. One of the tube toruses that is the most, well, I guess the one tube torus that we all have in common is that of our heart. Our heart is a big electromagnetic generator. So our heart creates this tube torus that goes out about 6 feet. The sacred space of the heart, that place that we can move our consciousness into, has a tube torus of about 1 foot. HeartMath has done a lot of that research. So that tube torus from your heart and the tube torus from your Merkava fields are 2 huge things. We do the Merkava activations because our Merkava, the star tetrahedron located around our body, creates a tube torus that is about 54 feet across. And this tube torus is the one that we use a lot in our own personal clearing work, our protection, and our manifestation. This tool right here, though, the Tube Torus, it can be used for all of those things. It can be used for protection, healing, transmuting. So we talked about crystals before, and you can put a crystal within this Tube Torus, and you can have that programmed for manifestations into your life. The ways that these Tube Toruses are being used as well is healing on the physical body. It will clean and clear chakras, balance, and align. There's actually a few different people who've been using these with cancer. Now, there's a gentleman in Golden, Colorado, who has used these as the basis to his cancer treatments, that he has people flying in from all over the world. My sister also in South Dakota uses these for the cancer treatments. One of the reasons for that is that it's the Tube Torus, and it is drawing in all this energy into the center here, but it is drawing in that perceived negative and positive energy, so it's doing a completion of everybody. So when you're seen as holding on to any of the galactic rings, it is your higher soul self and all your aspects that are holding on to this as well. So as we see people who have a dis-ease, a lot of people like to hold on to that. That is their empowerment, that is their story.
Yeah.
And so this works with the higher soul self. And so basically the higher soul self will say, no, this is not part of what we want. And this is being seen as doing this drawing, sometimes a tug of war between the person and this, who the higher soul self is coming through this, and the Council of Light is seen as doing this tug of war, and it pulls that cancer in and locks it in there and transmutes it. And that's the beautiful thing about the Tensor Rings and the Tensor technology, is that they never carry anybody else's energy. Everything is transmuted in there. So these things never need cleaned and cleared. They contain an infinite amount of energy. So these tools, because of the sacred geometry, this is also something that we've been shown that it is doing the awakening codes within a person just by seeing this configuration. And then later we found out this was actually a crop circle from 2009. So it was kind of interesting to see those signs out there.
Total confirmation. I know that many people are just drawn to it. They may not know what that design is, but they are drawn to it. And it was left behind on our planet by the ancients. We see it in sacred sites all over our planet, and it really is the portal back to our heart. Would you not agree?
I totally agree. We see the sacred space of the heart as the center of this Tube Torus that comes from our being. And we see that we can transmute everything within that heart space. That is the space right here, the space of creation. And that is too is how we can manifest through the center of the Tube Torus, through the center of the Tube Torus of our heart. Because we can create there and bring everything out on our toroidal fields into this physical reality.
A wonderful healing tool and a manifesting tool and true energy work. Beautiful. We love it. And you've put together a very special offer for everyone listening on these rings so that they can put them in their life as well. We'll get to that in a moment, but if we were to empower this, manifesting a dream or a goal, one way is to put the crystal in there, but also to concentrate on each point of intersection. Can you explain more about that?
Well, for the Tube Torus here with the 12 petals, for us, we really see this as we are in the very center. Us right here, that we have our physical, that we have our consciousness right here into the physical. And we see each one of these petal points as one of our aspects, one of our multidimensional selves. And so we can bring in each of our multidimensional selves right into the center point and bring everybody together, bring together all that information, all that knowledge, all that empowerment, that self-empowerment, the true self-empowerment of bringing yourself together as a multidimensional being and be able to create in this particular spot right here.
Tools to assist in self-mastery, stepping into our power fully, like you mentioned. Yes, we've even heard from other speakers on Healing Conversations about the negative energy that's broadcasted to us, and this really allows us to stand in our own power and to stand in our truth and into our self-mastery. Wonderful. So this is available through your special offer, and it's a wonderful one, and it ships anywhere around the world. So thank you for that. And then for healers, we've got a couple of options as well. They can use a set of the rings, or they could use one ring.
Yes, we call this the practitioner set that has all 4 of the rings available here. The ones that work on the physical, mental, emotional, and the releasing. And then this is the 4th ring, the Galactic Qubit. And this is the one that we feel is the most potent and powerful, is the Galactic. So we do offer this whole set together for $444, but we also offer just the Galactic Qubit alone. These are really wonderful tools, like you were saying about how we have all these layers of influence over us. We always sleep with these at the head of our bed at night, or else under our bed, because what this is doing is it is blocking all electromagnetics and all geopathic. So basically with the Tensor tools, and that is one of the biggest things, is that they are blocking all those electromagnetics and all those frequencies that come in. So this allows us to have a sacred space
In the bedroom while you're sleeping. So when we're working on dreams and remembering dreams, this is a powerful tool to use. I love that it protects you from EMF, and you just hang it above your bed or between your mattresses.
My little girl, who's 4, she's always had a ring above her bed. Right now, this is assisting her in remembering who she is in dream time, remembering one of her aspects or her higher soul self. And the things that she does there as a multidimensional being, she is remembering. And that can be frightening to a 4-year-old, of these very vivid dreams and these knowings. And and the dream time is, well, where we're sleeping at night, and in that dream time is where we receive most of our healing at, for our own self-healing. And another thing with the Tensor rings, where it is just allowing that energy to flow in between every cell of the body, and it's just allowing that healing to come through, along with the Council of Light, along with your higher soul self. But also what this is doing on the physical is it's proven in the laboratory that this takes acidic water and changes it to a neutral pH overnight. So since we are mostly water, this certainly helps with reducing our pH. It's also shown in the lab that you can take 2 beakers of water and put them on a balance beam. You put one of those beakers underneath this column of light, and that beaker of water becomes lighter in weight.
Wow.
It puts a positive right-hand spin to the water molecule. And again, as we are all water, as we all have mostly water within our bodies, this is doing some fantastic things on those levels as well.
Amazing products, all here. Thank you. It's science coming in to prove metaphysics and spirituality. Wonderful, wonderful work. Can you share? We're going to go into the Ascension Chamber next, one of your next biggest projects.
Guru, your higher soul self knows the best. You can utilize your guides to show you things, to help you along the way. But truly the answers come from you.
The answers come from you. You have to tap into that. And I loved what you said about the Sacred Heart, because when we are in our Sacred Heart and living from the heart and thinking from the heart, watch out, because miracles definitely happen. Finding things, equipment that used to not work works, little tiny things like that. It's a beautiful place to be. And thank you so much for sharing this technology with the world.
Thank you. It is my honor and pleasure.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Before we conclude this healing conversation, I'd like to take you to the desert at Joshua Tree, California, where I first met Brian and his partner Melissa at Contact in the Desert, where they were exhibiting their Ascension Chamber. Their intention is to share this with the world. Hello and welcome to another healing conversation. I'm Loren Gailey with AcousticHealth.com, and I'm here with Brian Besco of Twisted Sage Studios. We are talking about raising the vibrations of the planet.
Yes, that's right. Not only on a personal level, but everything that we are doing on a personal level is affecting us out there in a multidimensional aspect. All the stuff that we've been doing for the past year for the healing work has been with all of our multidimensional soul selves, so all of our soul aspects. And so they affect us so much, and so does all the soul contracts that we're dealing with, the soul contracts that we've had for lifetimes, which includes entities that ride with us and reside with us throughout many lifetimes. And so, and the Merkava Activation is another part of this whole integral process of ascension and of raising vibrations. So basically, we're just trying to clean the slate for everybody to be able to follow their free will to make a home, so to speak. As we've, for the past few years, we've been assisting people in activating their Merkava fields or reactivating their fields. We work with various beings like Thoth and Metatron and our own higher soul selves, and we're just doing things like my partner Melissa and I have recently put out a YouTube video for activating the Merkava field, and it's something where we go through and we help you release soul contracts and release entities, and then your Merkava field, you get to just pop that, and it's more than just the star tetrahedron geometries. It's all these other, the 64 tetrahedron grid or Metatron's cube. It's these different geometries that are allowing us to be able to travel more than just on the third dimensional level. And so here at Contact in the Desert, we've been working at putting together a new chamber for the past 4 months, and basically this guy is doing everything that the Tensor Rings have traditionally been doing, and that is, you know, the things like cutting cords and just raising the vibration, dissolving energetic implants that are non-beneficial, and then all of the Tensor tools now that we're creating are bringing in the higher soul self and all the soul aspects. So again, it's synchronicity of that we're doing all this work on a multidimensional level. So the chamber that we've created, that Melissa and I have co-created together, it utilizes the different geometries, like the flower of life, which is the partial code that we had. And now then that it's the fruit of life, which is expanded out on that, it includes the entire code, including the new platonic solids that are making up the building blocks of the physical structure of the 5D reality that we'll be moving in. And so all of that fits within the framework of the fruit of life. So the fruit of life is one of the aspects that we utilize in the base of our chamber here. And then Melissa and I have been doing these co-creations for about 4 months. We've been working on putting this chamber together. And so some of it is dealing with some of the aspects of, like, the Arcturians. They utilize different healing chambers for the fifth dimensional body just to keep them rejuvenated for long periods of time. So basically we have this chamber that is created, as all of our tools are, on the etheric plane, and then they are manifest into the physical. So just a couple days ago we completed both the physical and the etheric. So when you're standing within here, there's 125 of these Ascension Rings in here that are raising the vibration of the body. They are giving the different codes for activating DNA, but then it's also working with such as the Council of Light to bring in the light rays, because we work with the Council of Light. And that's one of the things that our tools do too, is they connect you to your immediate Council of Light. So that just basically means that if your higher soul self isn't part of the council or doesn't work with them already, one of its buddies does. And so they'll connect and help you run source rays through for cleaning, clearing, healing, manifesting, anything. So that's part of what the Ascension Rings are doing. And then the rest of it is just raising the vibrations of the person who stands within here. And it's also completing soul codes, which is a huge thing. We're seeing it as these soul codes. It comes from your soul family, your star systems. And so some people have maybe just one star system. Some people may have multiple star families. And basically what this means is it works with the DNA to assist in allowing you to go home after this lifetime. So basically, we're trying to make these things simpler and simpler, such as doing the Merkava Activation that we've put out on YouTube, just to make things easy. And basically, that's what this machine is doing, is it is helping us to bring in all that stuff that we would have had to normally do through several reincarnations and allow us to be complete in this lifetime. And Melissa really has an eloquent way of stating some of these concepts as well. She's channeled in a lot of this information as far as being the fruit of life, as being the complete key of light. Because when we create these geometries with the light rings, these geometries are penetrating all the way into the DNA with those patterns of light.
I started working with copper wire, and it escalated into making seeds of life, and then meeting Brian. I got my Merkava activated, and it went from a seed to the fruit, and then it expanded. And my understanding of the expanded version, which is the fruit of life, is it contains all 5 platonic solids. It contains the seed, the flower, the fruit, and the tree of life. Life as we know it from Source Creator. Everything has expanded through this blueprint. So this is the blueprint of all of creation. And how this all came together is synchronistic, and it's not that you sit down and you receive a ton of information and then you just do that. It's you get little pieces all the time and you just follow those steps. And we've been working on this project for several months, and it just came together for everybody here. We're hoping to get people through it, and as I see it, what it is, this chamber was created etherically throughout space-time, across all dimensions, so that etherically the beings of light that specifically work with each and every individual will come into the chamber etherically as you step in. And so you have that healing space. You step into the chamber as they step into the chamber, and that is how we're receiving all of our DNA codes, is through all of the other beings are here to assist. So all those who walk with you and all of your star family are going to come in to do all the activation that is needed.
I know there will be some questions about the Merkaba and activation of the Merkaba. Is that the same as light body?
Yes. Your Merkaba is your light body, and this is the star tetrahedron, and this is what all people who have their Merkaba activated learn about the star tetrahedron and how it works, and it is the 8-pointed star.
It is connected to the physical body, connected to the third-dimensional body right in the original 8 cells. So within the original 8 cells, you'll find the very center of the star tetrahedron. And so this is the star tetrahedron is what is connected to our physical. And so that one must be functioning before you're working with all your other dimensional bodies.
So the star tetrahedron is represented in, it's very hard to show, but if you were going to represent it, this is the seed of life, and so the star tetrahedron would be the seed.
It's kind of looking at it as a feminine and a masculine aspect. I mean,
Yes.
and that's maybe feminine and masculine aren't necessarily the words, but the star tetrahedron is the straight line, and the seed of life, if it was in spherical form, like your first cells, then that would be represented by the seed of life there,
And
the
so,
two-dimensional object.
So what I would like to say about it is that this is what we learn as the Merkaba, and this actually is only part of the code. So there's more to it than this. And so my understanding, there was a talk today on the 64-pointed star, which looks very similar to this one. But the difference is how many points it has. This one has the 64 points. So now this
That looks like the Sri Yantra.
Yes.
It's the 64 tetrahedron grid, and the 64 tetrahedron grid, that's what Nassim Haramein refers to it as. We refer to it as Metatron's cube because it is one of the geometries that we see in the Merkaba fields, is the 64-pointed star. That is one of the Merkabas.
So when you get your Merkaba activated and you're working in the 8-pointed star, it's keeping you in this. It's keeping you limited in this space. But when you get your Merkaba upgrade and you are upgraded so that all of your tetrahedrons, so that all of your stars are spinning, Then you have Metatron's cube. So this is the masculine, and if these were spheres, this would be the feminine version. And so this is also Metatron's cube. And what we are doing with the DNA activation and with the Merkava upgrades is actually upgrading you from the 8-pointed star to essentially the 64-pointed star.
In which we'll still have the 8-pointed star as long as we are here in this physical dimension.
But this,
these physical bodies.
But this allows us to travel throughout space and time across all dimension anywhere we want to go because of the geometries.
Activating your sacred geometry.
Yes.
The sacred geometry within you. It could freak some people out, entities and things. Can you share a little bit more about entities that people might have and how you recognize entities?
I'd sure like to answer that. With my first experience in this is that my family had noticed that my mannerisms and speech and stance had all changed. And with that, when we looked into that further, we found that about 200 and some lifetimes ago, I was dying in the desert. I made a contract with a being who assisted me in staying alive at that time. So this contract that I made with another being, after that lifetime, we both incarnated into the same physical body time after time. And
2 in 1.
Yes, well, 2 in 1 for a while, and then for a little while there was 3 of us in there. And so you can have multiple contracts with multiple beings, and we just call them entities. You know, the jargon on all of this stuff is not set, so entity does bring up a connotation to it. You can consider it as another being.
And it's a good contract in the beginning. It's not that it's something that's not for your greatest good. You obviously accepted the contract at some point. So there was a connection between the two of you. It's not that they're just taking something.
In some lifetimes it was beneficial to both beings, and sometimes it's beneficial to one or the other. This lifetime for all of us is becoming non-beneficial to have these contracts, because as we are raising a vibration, whether we are conscious of it, aware of it, or even want it, it is happening. And so, and then also with all the free will, we are needing to release these guys, because these can be like a soul aspect of another being. And so we consider ourselves right here in this physical as one aspect of our soul. Well, this other being that is here with us in this contract is an aspect of another person's soul or another being. And so basically, releasing these contracts is a huge thing. That's something that we've been doing, is releasing contracts, going soul to soul with a person and helping them to dissolve those contracts. And then that other being that resided with us would be taken to wherever's for their highest and greatest good. And we do all this work with the guides. And so those are the contracts that we try to release.
And sometimes there are entities that do not have contracts. You were talking about the entities, and that is definitely a trigger word for people. You could just say that other beings that you allow to control. And the thing is that anybody can take that control back. Entities don't necessarily have to have a contract to mess with you. But when you are a free will sovereign being and you take control and stand in your power, there is nothing greater than you, and then it cannot affect you. If you have those contracts, that's when you would want to do some work with the meditation and releasing the contracts.
I love what you said there, that whole being and sovereignty is really what we need to do. Here we are at Contact in the Desert. I find it funny that you were in the desert when you had your soul contract. And I wonder why I'm here in the desert. It's too hot for us here. Talking about sovereignty, and here we are at Contact in the Desert. And that's really important for you to explain more on the sovereignty, because even when we're talking about ETs and the malevolent and the benevolent ETs, it all comes back to sovereignty and your personal power.
Well, and it is a time of free will, because this is a free will universe, and you hear that from all different kinds of sources. That Earth is set up for us to come here. We forget what it is that we know. We forget our connection to Source, to our higher soul self, and it's done on purpose so that we can come here and we can play and not be impeded by what we really know. And so it is set up as a free will universe so that we can just learn and grow. But right now at this time, it's moving on to a whole new new game for all of humanity and for all those else in the universe. So Earth is a very important place for us to exercise our free will. And as we have been hijacked on, for lack of a better term, on so many different levels, whether it is, we do a lot of clearing with the ley lines. We find that there's a lot of non-beneficial grids around the world that are taking energy from people, whether it's in the churches or in Masonic lodges or football stadiums, hospitals, museums, the sacred geometry that is non-beneficial, that's set up within the city systems. Everything that is created in this physical world is created with measurements that do not produce healthful and beneficial frequencies. And so where we work with our tools that are based on qubit lengths of measure that produce beneficial frequencies, and that was all the forgotten knowledge right there. So we are intending that we're going to start creating these new meter sticks, so to speak, that produce a healthful and beneficial frequency in a straight line qubit. And as all of us are reconstructing our physical world and we are creating in these straight line qubits that produce beneficial frequencies, that too is going to free us up from this systems of control that we've all been under. And so that goes back to our sovereign free will, that we do have this free will, but so much layers have came across impeding us from being in that free will.
The frequencies that we don't even know about. And so your tools and devices, they're made of copper. Can you speak about the properties of copper that assist you in this technology?
Well, copper is a crystalline structure, so as a copper wire is created, it aligns all the crystals in a one-way flow of energy. And when you take that one-way flow of energy and you bend the wire in half and you twist it, you cut it at very specific lengths, which are these qubit lengths, and they act like an antenna. So when you bring them back together, it's creating a counter-rotating vortex of this frequency. And so there used to be 64 known qubit lengths to mankind, and we've discovered probably about 19 of them. One of them comes from the King's Chamber that produces 144 megahertz tensor field. But these, not all of them are creating a tensor ring. But when we do create these tensor fields, it restructures electromagnetics. It also, the new rings that we are creating, they're called the Galactic Qubit. These were actually doused in by a couple of dairy farmers in Wisconsin who are looking for a qubit length that would be most beneficial for their livestock. Well, we end up getting the Galactic Qubit, which these galactic qubits are the ones that the Council of Light works through. It's the ones that our higher soul self-consciousness works through. And so that's why we created these this particular machine here, which is just all run off of tensor field technology that is allowing setting a space and a place, raising our frequency and vibration, and allowing us to be able to connect with and work with these beings that are for our highest and greatest good. Tensor technology cannot be weaponized. You put your intentions into here, but it only sends out what is healthful and beneficial for the highest and greatest good. So,
program it.
Yes, and that's because of the geometrical structures within the spheres, the coils. So basically it's taking the tensor ring and it's just making the energy flow differently. Like these guys here produce a tube torus, a toroidal field 3/4 mile across. They restructure all electromagnetics. It connects the tube torus of your heart, of your brain, of your Merkava field, amplifying and strengthening everything. And then these guys here are just amplifying your intentions. I mean, I know a little 12-year-old girl who can move clouds. So my parents put their intentions into their sphere for allowing only beneficial weather. Their neighbors know us for the past 3 years. Hailstorms go right around because it's just amplifying intentions. So it's basically training wheels for us to get past that side of our mind that says, wait, we can't do these things. But your Merkava field, our intentions, we can do everything. We are very powerful beings. This chamber that we've created is our intention that we are able to create these chambers. We would like to create multiple chambers that are housed permanently wherever it is that we go to do our work. So we want to have one of these chambers set up everywhere so that people can come along and freely use them. And so that is our intention. That's why we sell our tools and we have our studio, is to be able to fund these endeavors that are raising the vibration across the globe.
Consciously connecting lights. We're turning the lights on of all the beings. So as we get out in the public and we see people and talk with people, what we're really doing is connecting with them and saying, hello, it's time to wake up and let's turn your light on, let's ground you, anchor you, let's connect you to source, let's give you all the tools you need. Now it's time to clean this place up.
And these are, you hope to even put these into a mainstream level around hospitals and other places, shopping malls, things like that? Anything that any listener can do to assist?
A public place. Right now what we're looking for is funding to assist on this. So we're looking for people that can assist us with all those different funding sites that are out there, or that would just like to be a sponsor for this type of research and technology, and because that is what we are here to do, is we're here to help the collective, not only on this earth, but everywhere else throughout the universe. And so basically what this chamber is going to do is going to allow us to all make it home in this lifetime, instead of having to reincarnate several times.
Beautiful. Melissa and Brian, thank you.
Thank you.